or like waiting on the board on my back. So like I only picked one thing because if not, it gets a little hectic and you kind of get a little stressed out and hard to remember what you're doing. So basically you're set in stone on how you do your meet and you don't want to change too much.
Okay, this is obviously a team competition here. I asked Cassidy on Wednesday, do divers feel like team members, or are you kind of like the specialist on the football team, the guy who kicks the extra points, and it's like, yeah, you're here, but you're over there, and the rest of your team is over here. How do you approach the team aspect when you are really one of the specialized athletes here who is competing?
Yeah, I always tell everyone that diving is like 90% mental, 10% physical because a lot of it, you are an individual, but the team aspect, like we rely heavily on our teammates to, if we mess up a dive, they're usually there to talk us through it, to get us back like on the right track and things like that. So we are individuals, but the team, like the camaraderie, things like that, it really plays a huge part of our sport. And the best part about diving is like you go to these meets and you're competing against everyone, but usually everyone cheers you on, like just like your friends by the end of the meet. So I think that's like the best part about diving.
Okay, there are 8 divers in the finals here. You will have seen them through dual meets or whatever. Do you watch what other divers do, or are you mainly focused on what you do and what you can control, and that is your own dive?
Everyone's different. When I dove, I was one that I did not like to watch people because I felt like that way I didn't know exactly where I stood because you can get a little too comfortable sometimes. If you see someone mess up a dive, I've seen it many times on reverses. Someone will watch someone almost lay out flat on a dive and then they'll go up and do the exact same thing. So for me, I never really tried to watch, but some people they do better when they know how they are comparing to other divers. So it just depends on the person. But also, like, sometimes you watch a dive that's really scary and it freaks you out. So, like, I never thought it was a good idea.
Okay, of the 8 divers tonight, 5 are upperclassmen, 3 freshmen. Does that say anything if you have 3 freshmen that are diving tonight? Because on the 3-meter diving on Wednesday night, we saw some of the freshmen just, have difficulties maybe adjusting to the bigger stage and all of that. Did you find that was the case when you were diving and you were a freshman, or is it just your talent wins out over nerves?
I think sometimes it's kind of when you're new and you're fresh on the scene, like you don't really feel as much pressure as some of the older divers do. But also, like that experience, like you said, it can come back to bite you in the end and like finals because when you have an entire like the dynamic of this like pool during finals versus prelims, like it's almost empty in the stands. It's just the diving parents. It's much quieter. There's a lot less going on and a lot less distractions. So I think coming into finals, like it is really nice to have the experience behind you, but also there's some young divers who they just have it and they can do it and keep calm under pressure.
Okay. You have 1 meter and 3 meter. Other than the fact of the height of the board, which I think is pretty obvious to people who are watching, what are differences between 3 meter and 1 meter as far as dives are concerned? It would seem to me that if you're on the 1 meter, it's like you get off the board and you're almost in the water right away.
Yeah, so the biggest difference I think is a lot of times there's usually an extra somersault when you're on the 3 meter compared to your 1 meter list. Like you're gonna do gainer 2.5, back 2.5 instead of 1 meter doing like just 1.5s. But coming into that, like with the women's meet at least, you see a lot of the back 1.5, gainer 1.5 pikes, inward 1.5 pikes. Like so you see a lot of very similar dives. And it's a lot more to think about, I think, on 1 meter. Like you want to cram so much into so little time in the air.
Okay. And with a 3 meter, you mentioned the extra somersault or whatever. You have to concentrate more on, when you're on a 1 meter, when you have to ensure that, oh yes, my arms are in or my leg has to be in or whatever. Is it much more mental than if you're diving from like the 3 meter board where it's a little higher and you have, and I mean, we're not talking about a lot of time here, but maybe a second or two to to kind of try and adjust.
Um, I mean, with your arms being in and out, like that, your takeoffs and your entries are going to be really similar, both on 1 meter and 3 meter. How you come out of the dives, things like that. So what you're focusing on taking off on the board is very similar, and when you're hitting the water, it's going to be very similar. Like you want to slide out of your dive, keep your arms close to your body in gainers and backs, and on fronts you want to square out to stop your dive, grab your hands. But with the extra flip on 3 meter, it becomes really important to learn how to spot, because if you're doing dives with your eyes closed, then you're gonna basically hope that you're coming out at the right time, versus if you're spotting, um, you'll know more accurately. I think it makes it easier to control it, but 1 meter, you have a lot less time, so you're not as important, like it's still important to spot, but a little less so.
Okay, uh, 6 dives in the finals. Do you like to have you as a competitor? Do you like to put your toughest first? You want to put your easiest first? Does it matter? Yeah, because if you put a good number on the board, maybe another diver, well, I mean, I got to hit this, or else I'm going to fall behind, and maybe I fall further behind. Is that individual strategy, or does the coach tell you you ought to go this way to do your best in this meet?
Usually you want to do what is comfortable first, I think, but then you have some people who just want to get their hard dive off first. But for me, I always did an easy dive without a hurdle first, just to get comfortable, to get in the competition, to stress less, and then I would do my hurdles. Um, but when I was watching prelims, a lot of the girls started with front approaches, so I guess times have changed, because when I did it, we all did inwards.
And that's just in a year it's changed.
Yeah.
It changed that quickly. As we're watching here, some of these young ladies, are they trying to simulate what's going to be happening in just a few minutes, or are they just there just to kind of get the feel of the board? There's a lot more people here. This is probably a full house from the people who are above us here watching it. Are they just trying to kind of just get themselves ready for competition?
Yeah, see, they've already done their list probably 2 to 4 times this morning, so I think it's really getting loosened back up, just running through your dives, getting the feel for the boards again. But I mean, they definitely hope that they have a good warm-up, because if you have a good warm-up, you're going to feel better going into the meet. But yeah, mostly it's getting loosened up because they know they can do their dives. They've already done them. But
is there differences in boards between 1 meter and 3 meter? Is there a difference? Are they the same, or what? What do you find?
I mean, everyone's going to say something different, but I mean, the mentality of it is a lot different. I mean, in high school, we do 1 meter. That's all we do. So I feel like a lot of people are usually more comfortable on it. But it's just your mindset going in. Like, you just have to think about, this is the board I'm doing today. But, I mean, everyone's different.
Okay, so every board is different, and from dive to dive, I mean, whatever it is, you can't change. You can't go back to Oakland or Green Bay or whatever and bring your favorite board in.
Exactly.
So you just have to learn as a competitor. You just have to learn to adjust then, right?
Yeah, I usually would pick the board with the shortest line, because then I get to practice more and faster. But there are people who they're really picky about their boards, and I mean, sometimes I am, but I switched boards I used for practice like a few weeks before conference last year.
Okay. So that can take place. Right now we are getting ready for the 1 meter diving, and we'll look through the competitors here. And Tori, we're going to start with Sydney Leibenberg from Illinois, Chicago. She won the 3 meter competition a couple of days ago, and now she's trying to come back and win the 1 meter. Is it a difficult to do a double here, where you win the 1 meter and the 3 meter in a championship meet?
I mean, if you look at the last few years, it doesn't seem like it. I know last year the girl who won, she won both boards. Same with the guys, and I'm pretty sure that happened the year before even. But I mean, who knows? Anything can happen in this meet. You never know.
do you find, is it better to specialize in one or three, or when you're in college, you gotta, you have to do both boards no matter what?
Oh, I definitely think doing both boards is the better option because, I mean, the better you are at both boards, the more of a chance you have to do well. And honestly, doing 3 meter helps my 1 meter, and doing 1 meter helps my 3 meter. So I think it depends on the diver, but most of us, I think, you want to do the more boards for the better chance.
Okay. Cindy is back to try to do the double here. Bailey Wagner, even though she came in last place in a preliminary this morning, she was a diver of the week here in the Horizon League. As there you see the divers making their way around to the diving area. If you're a diver of the week, you have some, that makes other people notice. Even if you're, as Bailey was 8th in the preliminaries, I mean, all the scores are thrown out. You're starting over, so it really doesn't matter. You just want to be sure, if you're a diver, that you're one of 8 to get in, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the top 8 and you don't fail 2 dives, you're going to score points for your team. So, and you're guaranteed that place. So I think the stress is going to be off for like Bailey. Like, she can go out and have fun and not have to stress about it.
All right. Okay. And she is one of 2 Green Bay divers. The other one is Crystal Francois, another senior from Green Bay. Carly Thomas from Milwaukee. Cassidy Pilo, who we saw in the 3 meter competition. She's in the 1 meter. We have Kelly Zudima from Illinois, Chicago. She's a freshman. Mackenzie Stetler, who we also saw on the 3 meter from Youngstown, and Riley Dahlman from IUPUI. And we are ready to get started, and we are going to start with Bailey Wagner, who is doing, I have got no idea what forward 2.5, is that somersault in
yeah,
tuck?
Somersault.
Okay. In tuck, okay. 2.4 is the
degree
award.
of difficulty.
Right, okay. And once again, you throw out the top 2 and bottom 2, and the middle 3 is kept. Is that how it is? Okay. Just like in the 3 meter competition. And once again, this is round 1 of 6. As we're ready to go. And that looked good to me, but I don't really know. We have the scores here. We have 6s and 5s, 43.20. And next is Crystal Francois of Green Bay. Her degree of difficulty, 2.1. Now, she looked like, now I don't know if that's long or short.
So it looked to me like one of her legs slipped out of the dive, which is, because if you saw, like, her tuck came apart early. So I think she just struggled a little bit.
Crystal with 18 on that dive. Next is Ms. Thomas from Milwaukee. 2.3 degree of difficulty. And 6s and 5s. She moves into second place as Bailey Wagner continues in first. Cassidy Pilo from Milwaukee. 2.3 degree of difficulty on that dive. And 4s and 5s for her. Cassidy moves into third spot. Dima, 2.0. Her degree of difficulty. Lots of cheers. That looked pretty good to you?
Yeah, that was pretty good. It looked like she was going to go over, but she was able to do a tuck save and stop the splash a little bit.
6.5 to 5.5.
Yeah.
And Callie moves into third place. Mackenzie Stetler from Youngstown State. 2.3 degree of difficulty.
That was pretty good for her. She just overwashed a little bit.
Okay, and we'll see what we get. 6s and 5s. McKenzie now moves into a tie for second place with Carly Thomas, and Bailey Wagner still in first place. Here is Riley Dahlman from IUPUI. That also looked like she was a little over.
Yeah.
Although she gets 6s and 5s in the dive with 46. Shows you how much I know. She moves into first place. And here is Sydney Leibenberg from UIC.
That was really good. She makes it look really easy because she gets really good height and she can just take it straight down into the water.
And the judges agree. 7s and 6s, although the degree of difficulty was not there. So she's in second place after one round. Riley Dahlman is in first. Sydney Leibenberg is in second. And Bailey Wagner of Green Bay is in third. That dive by Bailey Wagner. Her degree of difficulty was 2.3 and 5s and 6s. These seem like kind of typical scores. Are they typical scores normally in your diving competition that you've seen?
Yeah, and like if you look at Sydney's score and Riley's, like Sydney's got higher scores than her, but it just shows you how important the degree of difficulty actually is sometimes.
Okay. Crystal Francois from Green Bay, once again, 5s and 6s. Actually, she got 6 5.5s and 1 5.0. And Wagner is in first. Francois now in second.
She had a really good entry on that. Like, it was really clean, so I think it'll score really well.
Carly Thomas, and you're right, 7s and 6s there, as Carly Thomas from Milwaukee moves into first place. A couple of points ahead of Bailey Wagner. And now this is Cassidy Pilo from Milwaukee. That dive.
Yeah, that one was really good too. Like, her entry looked like it was going to go long, but she was able to pull it right into the water.
I mean, are you able to do, I mean, can you move your legs if you know it's going? Can you pull them back?
It's actually all about the entry. Like, once you hit the water, you can either pike harder, pike later, pike earlier underwater, and it'll pull it up usually better to help.
Okay. This is Callie from UIC.
Yeah, it looked like she just came out of that just a little bit early, so it was a little short.
And she has 5s and 6s. Degree of difficulty, though, is only... As we have Carly Thomas still in first. Bailey Wagner is in second. This is Mackenzie Stetler from Youngstown State.
That was really good. She had good distance. She came out of it in time, and she was able to keep the entry clean. So I think it'll... Oh, it did score well.
Yeah, it did. She has 7s and 6s, but once again, the degree of difficulty was only 2.1. And this is Riley Dahlman from IUPUI. Comes to the end of the board.
Yeah, that was really good. I don't know if they'll dock her a little bit. She just seemed to overturn just barely, but...
Well, half of the judges are right next to there. Well, she scored pretty well, all 6s. So she becomes a good score of over 40. Once again, our 3-meter champion, Leibenberg. And 2.4 degree of difficulty. And her score is... Waiting for the judges here. 5s and 6s, and she moves into second place, just 0.2 of a point behind Riley Dahlman. And Carly Thomas is in third, and Bailey Wagner is fourth. And here's Wagner. Not a lot of splash there.
No, that was really good. She had really good distance and came out of it nicely.
7s and 6s. So Bailey is the first diver in the third rotation, and she moves into first place with a score of 121.05. Crystal from Green Bay
I think that one was a little bit hard for her to control because when she took off of the board, she was leaning a little bit forward. So I think it made her end up a little bit over.
You're right there, 4s and 5s. 31.05 is the score. Crystal now in second place. This is Thomas from Milwaukee. 2.3 degree of difficulty. She was in third place when we started this third rotation.
Yeah, she just didn't seem like she stayed on the board, so she didn't really jump as high, so she had to fight with that to get it around.
4s and 5s when Tori, the natatorium is silent. I mean, but you know there are a lot of people here. Does that affect you, or you're kind of in your own zone here?
It all really depends on the individual diver, but I think I worked a long time on being able to zone out the people around me, and I think that's important, especially in settings like this.
Yeah. Cassidy Pilo anywhere from a 4.5 to a 6, and Cassidy moves into second place behind Bailey Wagner. Here is Callie from UIC.
Oh, she got such an awesome top on that, but I think she just didn't know what to do with it, and she held on a little too long.
All right, we'll see what kind of an award is given by the judges here. 2.3 was the degree of difficulty. And Callie, we're waiting for the judges here. And anywhere from a 1 to a 3.5, as you see. Kind of unfortunate that but that it happens in every meet.
Yeah, it's always a shock sometimes too when you get used to doing it one way. The next thing you know, you're 10 feet in the air and you're not normally.
Yeah, right. Mackenzie Stetler from Youngstown State. Her degree of difficulty was 2.3. And scores there, 6, 6.5. And we now come to Riley. Riley Dahlman from IUPUI. Bailey Wagner is hanging on to first place here. And we'll see what the scores are here for Riley. Do you have a choice of left or right diving board or not?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the whole point of warm-ups is figuring out which boards you're comfortable on. Okay. And sometimes people get halfway through their warm-up and switch because they just aren't that comfortable with it.
Okay. Once again, here is Sydney Leibenberg, 2.3 degree of difficulty. And
that was really nice.
That looked really good.
Yeah.
From a non-diving commentator, well, she's got 7s and 6s, and she moves into a lead, a 7-point lead. So hats off to her. She is as she's going along, the points are coming a little bit more. Again, this is Bailey Wagner. We're into the fourth rotation. 2.4 degree of difficulty. And Bailey with 5s and 6s. She now has 164.25 points, as you can tell. Once again, this is Crystal. Her degree of difficulty is 2.0, so she really needs to hit this dive.
And she did really well. I think she just could have kicked out a little bit straighter, harder to stop it a little better, but.
Once again, 6 and 5s there. 33 is the total score. Harley Thomas from Milwaukee. As everybody seems to be picking the right-hand board. It must be the board of choice tonight. She has 6s and one 5.5.
I think it also helped her that not a lot of people have done a gainer 1.5 pike this meet.
Okay. This is Cassidy Pilo.
And that's always a scary thing to do the exact same dive right after someone else. But I think Cassidy did well. She just took it over a little bit hard.
Cassidy anywhere from 4.5 to 6. As you see, Bailey Wagner is still in first place here. Carly Thomas is second, and Cassidy Pilo is in third. Here is Callie's dive.
I think the only real thing, like, it made it hard for her to control that because right on the takeoff, she put her head down, and it makes it really difficult because you're kind of creating a forward momentum with it.
Okay. She scores 33. Mackenzie from Youngstown State. And she gets to the end of the board. Oh, I don't know. Do you normally, is your face supposed to be facing the board? Because that one did not. Is that part of the dive to face the other way?
It really depends on, like, forwards and inwards. You really want your head to be up, and that's going to help you get higher. But, like, gainers and backs, like, you want your head kind of in a neutral position.
Okay.
So it really differs.
Here's Riley Dahlman from IUPUI.
See, she had a really good head position, really good reach. She just came out a little bit late.
Fives and sixes here as Riley takes the lead. She's got 1.65 more points than Bailey Wagner. And we're back to Sydney. And
that was really good. She had really good height. It just went a little bit over, but I mean, sometimes that just happens.
well, sixes across the board there for Sydney, and she has a 15-point lead. Are you surprised when you see a freshman who is, you know, kind of able, starting from dive one now to dive four, she's able to build some momentum here, and you know she keeps scoring higher with these dives. Does that show you a maturity level here from a freshman?
Definitely. It could also be her athletic background, like with how she may have competed in bigger meets, so she may have a lot more like championship type of experience. But I think she also has a mostly pike list, and so that higher degree of difficulty also helps her.
Once again, this is Crystal. We're in round 5 of 6. As Crystal's degree of difficulty, 2.3, 5s and 6s for her. As Bailey Wagner always has the lead until we get to the end, till Riley and Cindy dive, and then she falls back. Once again, this is Carly Thomas from Milwaukee. Degree of difficulty, 2.4.
That was a really nice dive. She probably could have kept her head up just a little bit longer before, but she got it in clean and barely any splash.
That's right. 6.5s and 6s, 44 points. Carly Thomas, a 10th of a point into second place. This is Cassidy Pilo from Milwaukee.
That was really good. It was a little splashy at the end, but her pike is literally beautiful.
And Cassidy scores 46.8, 1 5.5, the rest 6s. And here's Callie, 2.3 degree of difficulty. And comes right up to the end of the board.
It's these twisters of feet that a lot of girls will do, like this, like front double turn to your feet or a back 2.5 turn to your feet. The problem is, like, you need to have them completely square or you will be judged incredibly hard on them.
6s and 5s here. Cassidy is now in third place. Here is Mackenzie from Youngstown State. Her degree of difficulty is 2.4.
It seems like she just didn't get a very good takeoff. If you heard how loud the board was, it sounds like she stomped it a little bit, and I think she kind of panicked a bit, so it didn't get as high as it could, because I've seen her do it really well.
All 4s for Mackenzie. Now the 7th competitor. This is Riley Dahlman, 2.4 degree of difficulty from IUPUI.
She has a good height off the board.
Definitely. And with that, she did really well. She had really good pike, really good dive. She let go of a little late, but she was able to save it really well with a tuck save.
Okay, once again, our leader, Sydney Leibenberg from UIC. This is her 5th dive, 2.4 degree of difficulty. well, you go up and you go in. Or I mean, at least on that dive, there wasn't. I hate to say there wasn't much to it, but there was. All sevens from the judges.
That was really good, yeah. She just made it look really easy, and her entry was really good. That's why she got rewarded so well.
Well, Sydney has a lead of just about 20 points. This is the last rotation. Bailey Wagner from Green Bay. And, boy, there was literally no splash on that.
Yeah, that was really nice.
2.5 degree of difficulty here. And we'll see what the award is, 6s and 5s. So Bailey is up to 252 points. Crystal Francois from Green Bay is on the board now. And once again, up and down. Degree of difficulty, though, is 2.2. So she'll need a big award here. And she gets 4s and 5s and 33. And now this is Carly Thomas from Milwaukee.
Here's another one of the ones that she's going to twist and land on her feet, so she needs to be really square. And she was. It was a little splashy going in, but I mean, that's hard to avoid when you're doing feet first entries.
All right, okay. 2.3, once again, 4s and 5s. Our fourth competitor of this final round is Cassidy Pilo from Milwaukee. 2.7. This is
it's a whole nother twist than the girl who just went before her. And this is when she can score the same scores that her teammate just got, and she'll score much higher in total. Okay. And that's why people do it. They want the higher DD.
So 43, and Cassidy will move into second place at the present time. Our fifth competitor is Callie Zudema from UIC, 2.4 degree of difficulty.
It looks like she just got a little bit stuck in the middle of that. It could be, I think she didn't really stay over the board enough. She kind of fell back, and so she just got a little stuck towards the end.
All right, 6s and 5s. And a better dive, but score-wise, Cassidy scored better than her. So, once again, we can see your point of the degree of difficulty. Mackenzie Stetler from Youngstown State. Her degree of difficulty is 2.4.
That was a really good inward, especially after the girl that went before her.
2.4, all 6s, as Mackenzie, at this point, unable to make the top 3. We come to Riley Dahlman from IUPUI, 2.4 degree of difficulty. Okay, looked pretty decent. And her degree 5s and 6s here. So Riley into second place, quarter of a point behind Bailey Wagner, and our leader, Sydney Leibenberg from UIC.
That was just phenomenal. But, I mean, you see now what I said about Bailey. Like, she came in 8th place, so she really didn't have that much stress. She was able to have fun with it, and she moved up to second place.
Look at it, it's a 50. She gets 8s and 7s, and you mentioned it was a really great dive, and the scores really prove it there. As Sydney Leibenberg is your winner by almost 30 points over Bailey Wagner from Green Bay, and Riley Dahlman finishes in third place, and Riley is from IUPUI. What caught your eye here, Tori, about this? The champion of both 1 meter and 3 meter, obviously as a freshman, she's a very good diver.
Yeah, definitely. She clearly can keep her calm in stressful situations, and I think that's just going to benefit her through her next 3 years here.
Any of the other competitors, as we mentioned, there were three freshmen.
as Dahlman finishes in third place. So diving in the Horizon League.